This postcard was delivered 121 years late. Have you ever had a package from Amazon arrive a few days late? How about a week? Well, what about 121 years? Our main postal service in Australia is AusPost, and they're for the most part pretty reliable. It's when you get these third-party couriers when things start to go wrong and your package can end up who knows where. And then to top it all off, you have to wait another 2 weeks for your replacement to arrive. Look, say what you want about postal services. Depending on where you're from, your mileage may vary. But I think we can all agree that they have to put up with some wild things out there, whether it be overgrown lawns that look like the Amazon rainforest, their lifelong rivalry with feral dogs, or even the occasional crazy person.
Stop stalking me, right? Don't ever stalk me again.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
It's a tough job, and one that we all take for granted. But before I get into it any further, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Now with that all out of the way, let's get started. A postcard has been delivered to a Welsh address an astonishing 121 years after it was sent. Staff at Swansea Building Society couldn't believe their eyes when going through the mail at their Craddock Street head office on the morning of Friday, August 16th. There was the usual mortgage and savings related letters, but also a postcard which dropped out from the middle of the pile with King Edward VII's stamp on it, dated August 3rd, 1903. It was destined for a lady called Lydia Davies, who presumably lived there at the time there were houses instead of the bank. So this postcard was sent in 1903 with King Henry VII's stamp on it. To be honest, I'm surprised they didn't send it via pigeon or raven sealed with wax and pressed in their house's sigil. If they did that, maybe it would have taken at least 60 years quicker. At least she would have been alive to see it. So poor Lydia was left on red for 121 years. That's gotta sting. She probably thought the guy was playing it mad safe. Doesn't she know you don't reply to a lady's scroll for at least 3 moons? You don't want to look too desperate. Henry Darby, Marketing and Communications Officer at Swansea Building Society, said, "It turned up completely out of the blue on Friday. The postman came to the door as normal with lots of letters regarding mortgages, savings and stuff for our team to process. As one of the managers was going through it, a postcard dropped onto the table, not in an envelope, not with a note, just as it was." So here's some pictures of the postcard. On the back you can see the writing. Mr. Darby said the address is correct. We are still 11 and 12 Craddock Street, but it's 121 years later than expected. It's wild actually. A little bit spooky. The stamp itself is King Edward, so he was king from 1901 until 1910, and you can tell straight away from the handwriting and the way it speaks. Dearest, I could not. It was very much of the time. Dearest Lydia, I could not fathom thy feelings of gazing upon your portrait in those silk undergarments and the revealing nature of your ankles. Man, I swear everyone spoke like Shakespeare back in the day. It would have been so wholesome. From what we can work out, the postage stamp says August 3rd, 1903. Penciled on the top, it says Fishguard, Pembrokeshire. So we're wondering if it's come from Fishguard to Miss Lydia. It's quite vague, the postcard. They are speaking of something they are both aware of, but don't want to reveal it on the postcard. Okay, now I'm really curious as to what this postcard was about. What were they buying that they didn't want anyone else to know? This is probably evidence for some cold case from back in the day. The front of the postcard depicts a drawing of a wintry scene with a stag in the foreground straddling a frozen tree stump with a body of water and snowy mountains beyond, all beneath a starry sky. A boat of some kind appears to be travelling across the water, and the caption at the bottom left says simply, "The Challenge." At the top corner, the postcard reads, "Remember me to Ms. Gilbert plus John with love to war from Unreadable." The main body of the postcard says, "Dear Earl, I could not. It was impossible to get the pair of these. I am so sorry, but I hope you are enjoying yourself at home. I have got now about 10 shillings pocket money, not counting the train fare, so I'm doing alright." 10 money. He only had 10 money, Lydia. What kind of quest were you sending him out on with 10 money? And that's not counting train fare, which was probably at least 1 money. And then he had to buy whatever the hell you wanted as well. Next time, go get it yourself. The bank has put an appeal out on social media asking for anyone with information on Ms. Davies or anything else to help shed light on the mystery to come forward and get in touch via their social media page. Yeah, so if anybody has a Welsh great-great-grandmother named Lydia, you should totally reach out to me and tell me what the hell this is all about. Mr. Darby said, "We know it's quite long ago, but we thought it would be so fascinating to know what was life like on Craddock Street 121 years ago. The building society itself was set up 20 years after the postcard was sent. From what we could gauge yesterday, looking at the archives, we think there were more traditional houses in this place which were bombed, and our office is a rebuild, but the address has stayed the same. Opposite the Albert Hall was open at the time in the 1860s when Oscar Wilde performed, so Lydia was probably walking across the road to see those people who performed there." Oh yeah, you know Lydia was sending this simp out to go get her some new corsets so she could sneak backstage and woo Oscar Wilde, maybe even get a poem written about her. But this useless guy couldn't even get it done. Apparently it was impossible. Oscar Wilde is a big deal. She probably wanted a top of the line corset with the latest embroidery. Well, I hope whatever she wore was still breathtaking. Although I don't think Oscar Wilde wrote any poems about her, so maybe not. You missed your shot, Lydia. A Royal Mail spokeswoman said, "It is likely that this postcard was put back into our system rather than being lost in the post for over a century. When an item is in our system, we are under obligation to deliver it to the correct address." Well, you gotta respect their work ethic. Even though the postcard is dated for 1903 with King Henry VII's stamp on it and addressed to a house, they still decided to deliver it to a bank just so all the workers can go through their mail for the day and see this postcard and just go, what? It must have made the workers' day, honestly. Anyway, that's all I got for this story. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end, and I'll see you next time.